In 1980, I did a world tour. I had released an album, and I had a greatest hits album. The demands on my time were intense. Boz Scaggs wasn't just successful, he was everywhere. His smooth, effortless voice defined an entire decade's soundscape, selling millions of records and earning prestigious awards. Then, at the absolute peak of his commercial power, he abruptly stepped away, leaving behind fame while the world was still calling his name. But that departure was only the beginning. What followed was a crushing divorce, a bitter custody battle, and a loss so profoundly devastating it changed him forever. Just when it seemed his life could not endure any more hardship, a sudden natural disaster arrived to erase decades of his creative legacy. Yet today, the way Boz Scaggs lives will completely shock you. Welcome back to the royal time of Hollywood. Today, we are exploring the bittersweet journey of a musical icon who traded superstardom for fatherhood, survived unimaginable tragedies, and continues to find a reason to keep showing up. The meteoric rise and sudden silence. Boz Scaggs grew up in Texas, where music was everywhere but fame was a distant dream. The turning point came in the late 1950s at a private academy in Dallas, where a teenage Boz met a fellow student who would alter his life forever, Steve Miller. Bonding over a shared love of rhythm and blues, the two played in school bands before Scaggs joined the legendary Steve Miller Band in San Francisco in 1967. Though their psychedelic tracks captured the late 60s energy, Boz was destined for a solo path. After sharpening his raw performance skills as a street musician in Europe, he launched a solo career that beautifully blurred the lines between rock, soul, and pop. In March 1976, his seventh studio album, Silk Degrees, became a global phenomenon. Reaching number 2 on the Billboard 200, it remained on the charts for an astonishing 115 weeks. His hit single, Lowdown, won a Grammy for Best Rhythm and Blues Song, permanently cementing him as a global powerhouse. And then, following the release of Middleman in 1980, Boz Scaggs completely vanished from the music scene. He abruptly stopped touring and ceased recording for 8 long years. While the music press speculated about burnout or creative exhaustion, the truth was deeply human. He was overwhelmed by the relentless demands of corporate stardom, and more importantly, he wanted to be a father to his toddler sons, Austin and Oscar. A bitter custody battle behind closed doors. While Boz sought peace in San Francisco by opening local mainstays like the Blue Light Cafe and the nightclub Slims, his personal life was quietly fracturing. In 1971, he had married prominent socialite and antique dealer Donna Carmela Stasiola. However, the compounding stress of his skyrocketing career put an unmanageable strain on the marriage. The couple separated and filed for divorce in 1980. What should have been a standard separation quickly devolved into a deeply bitter, emotionally draining child custody battle that dragged through the courts for 42 agonizing months. The ongoing court proceedings legally bound Scaggs to San Francisco. If he had conceded custody to his ex-wife, he would have been free to move to New York to easily rebuild his career. But Boz refused to give up his sons. He traded global fame for single fatherhood, a choice he never regretted, though it cost him his professional momentum. Eventually, the court awarded him joint physical custody. A routine emerged, but it was far from conventional. The boys grew up around Slims, surrounded by roadies and late-night musical energy. Amid this backdrop, his younger son, Oscar, faced severe hurdles early on, struggling significantly in school after being diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. Boz watched helplessly as his son fought a battle that no amount of parental love could completely fix. The ultimate tragedy: losing Oscar. By the late 1990s, the boys had grown into young men, and Boz began conceptualizing a return to the studio. But on New Year's Eve of 1998, the tragedy that every parent fears most arrived without warning. Boz received a devastating phone call from his eldest son, Austin. His 21-year-old son, Oscar Lewis Scaggs, was dead. Oscar was discovered unresponsive in a rundown, $29 a night single-room occupancy hotel in San Francisco's Mission District. The medical examiner delivered a brutal confirmation: Oscar had died from an acute accidental overdose. Despite his father's immense wealth and access to the finest rehabilitation programs, Oscar was found with only 92 cents left in his pocket. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to check out the other stories and shocking updates on our channel. We've covered many incredible celebrity journeys, tragic endings, and untold Hollywood secrets that you don't want to miss. Binge watch our previous videos to discover more surprising facts, emotional stories, and where your favorite stars are today. Your support helps us bring you more powerful content like this, so don't forget to explore, watch more, and stay tuned for the next video. The tragedy that struck Boz was years in the making. In September 1997, Oscar's lifelong best friend, Nicholas Trena, the son of novelist Danielle Steele, died from a sudden overdose at just 19 years old. The loss deeply affected Oscar, leaving him burdened by a quiet and largely unprocessed grief that lingered for more than a year. By late 1998, there were hopeful signs of recovery. Oscar had completed an intensive rehabilitation program, secured a job, and appeared to be moving forward with his life. Yet behind the smiles, a hidden relapse occurred only hours later, with fatal consequences. In January 1999, Boz finally broke his silence, describing the loss as an explosion that had blown his world to smithereens. Rather than retreating into grief, he chose to use his voice and public platform to raise awareness about the devastating impact of addiction. On January 5, 1999, a private memorial service for Oscar was held at Slim's, the nightclub Boz had founded years earlier in part to remain close to his children. The heartbreaking irony of honoring his son there only deepened the family's sorrow. Consumed by the flames, the Atlas Fire. In a bid for a fresh start, Boz and his second wife, Dominique, relocated north to a historic property in the Atlas Peak region of Napa Valley, establishing Scaggs Vineyards. For nearly 2 decades, the land provided a quiet, predictable rhythm. But on October 8, 2017, that refuge turned to ash. The catastrophic Atlas Fire swept through Napa County with terrifying speed. The inferno completely incinerated their family residence, leveled their agricultural infrastructure, and entirely destroyed Boz's personal recording studio. Boz and Dominique escaped physical injury purely by a matter of days due to a scheduling coincidence on his tour. While Boz initially tried to maintain a philosophical, Zen attitude, the delayed psychological impact settled in heavily. He found himself processing the loss through the traditional stages of grief. He had buried his son. Now, he was grieving the physical remnants of his entire existence. How Boz Scaggs lives today. After surviving a bitter divorce, a grueling custody battle, the tragic loss of a child, and the complete destruction of his home, the entertainment world naturally wonders, how is Boz Scaggs currently living? Despite online rumors suggesting he was financially ruined by the fires, Scaggs remains remarkably stable, cushioned by real estate investments and steady songwriting royalties from Silk Degrees. Though the pandemic forced the permanent closure of Slim's in 2020 and a brief 2019 medical scare forced him to postpone a summer tour, Boz has chosen an unexpected path for a man in his 80s. He refuses to retire. Instead of retreating, he packed up, moved back into an apartment in San Francisco, and remarkably returned to playing up to 80 tour dates a year. His late-career musical trilogy, Memphis, 2013, A Fool to Care, 2015, and Out of the Blues, 2018, captures a raw, lived-in sorrow that critics hail as his most honest work. He doesn't talk about Oscar, the fire, or the divorce in interviews. He let the hardships go and chooses to talk strictly about the music. For Boz Scaggs, the music is what remains, and it is the ultimate reason he keeps showing up. Which era of Boz Scaggs' iconic career or piece of his resilient survival story resonates with you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you were moved by this journey of musical resilience, please remember to like this video, share it with fellow music lovers, and subscribe to the Royal Time of Hollywood.